Who's the stupidest person you've ever met, and what story perfectly sums up their stupidity? An old coworker named James. We worked at McDonald's and were both 16. One time, while mopping the lobby, he for some unknown reason decided to chase a number of customers around with the mop, yelling, "I'm gonna get ya!" He was fired on the spot. My brother and I were in the kitchen one day as teenagers. My brother was filling the sink to wash dishes. When the sink was nearly full, he went to turn the tap off, but it wouldn't budge, so the water kept flowing. I tried turning it too, but with no success. This is when the panic set in. The level of water was rising fast, and we didn't want to flood the kitchen. It took big saucepans out of the press to fill with water to keep things from overflowing, while I was in a frantic scramble under the sink trying to find the mains to turn it off there. I couldn't find it. Now really panicking, I took over the pot filling duty, and my brother went running off to look for our dad as quick as he could. Dad came running in with my brother while we were shouting at him about looking for the mains. Dad just came over to the sink and pulled the plug out of the hole, letting all the water down the drain. Haha. I've told this story before, but I like telling it because frick Tammy. I had a boss named Tammy. One night we were all working late doing stock take, and we were discussing the impending lunar eclipse. Someone asked what happens during an eclipse. Tammy grandly explained that the eclipse would occur when America went in front of the moon, blocking our, Australia's, view of it. Like she literally thought the Earth stretched itself into a U-bend or neck pillow shape, and half of it stayed in our normal orbit, and the other half stretched itself over and around to casually block the moon for the rest of Earth. My roommate for the last 3 years once said that if solar technology keeps advancing at the rate it is, we will absorb all the energy made by the sun and fix global warming. Not 5 minutes later, after attempting to inform this poor fellow about how the sun's energy output is not determined by what the energy eventually interacts with, he states that wind farms are worse because they cause tropical storms. I hope he is just an epic troll. I don't know. One night during high school, my friend and I got invited to a party. I didn't drive back then, so my friend picked me up. All went well on our way to the party. On the way back, however, he got pulled over. As we were pulling to the side of the road, I told him that I was going to pretend to be sleeping, since I was the passenger. Anyway, I hear the cop get out of his cop car, walk towards our car, stops at the window, doesn't say anything. I can feel the brightness of his flashlight, but I don't hear him or my friend say anything. After about what seems like an eternity, I decide to open my eyes to see what's going on. That's when I see my friend, the guy who's driving, is pretending like he is sleeping too. Guy I went to high school with was at a party and asked the homeover if he could have her tattoo kit. She obviously said no. He left and came back an hour later with a ski mask on, demanding for the tattoo kit. Was arrested the next day. Can't make up that kind of stupidity. This girl I used to work with before she got fired. One day she came to work with a broken arm and claimed her boyfriend pushed her during a fight and she fell. We were all super concerned for her until she came in a week later saying she stabbed her boyfriend in the hand during a fight to get back at him for breaking her arm. Then a few weeks later she told everyone she was secretly trying to get pregnant because if she got pregnant, her unemployed boyfriend would have to get a job and help pay rent. She got pregnant and her boyfriend immediately dumped her. I worked with a man named Roy. Roy had theories about how to live life, Royconomics. One day, he turned to me and the other member of the crew. "You boys want to know how to get nice things?" he asked. "You go to the store and you finance everything. New furniture, new appliances, televisions, stereos, everything. Then, you don't make any payments and you don't show up for your court date. They'll end up garnishing your wages, but they take way less than the payments would have been. Then, about a week later, you boys want to know how to buy a house? You apply for every credit card you can possibly get. You take out your entire balance in cash from all of them, and you use that for your down payment. Then you don't make any payments, and you don't show up for your court date." For people thinking that they may know this specific Roy, I last saw him 10 years ago. That time he was in his early 50s, was rocking a gray/blonde skullet, and lived in the Hamlet province of Saskatchewan. My friend's sister was 20 and pregnant. She said something about how upset she was her VJ would be ruined. I jokingly said, "Maybe he'll come out of your butt instead." She said, "What do you mean? Can they come out of there too?" I thought she was joking, so I just said, "Duh, it's a 50-50 shot." She thought I was serious and asked her doctor if he could tell if the baby was going to come out of her VJ or butt. Edit. I know you can technically tear from your VJ to your butt in labor, meaning technically since it kind of becomes one hole that the baby would come out of, but she didn't think this. She thought she would crap out the baby. Edit 2. Since I've seen a few people bring it up, she figured out I was just fricking with her. She told her sister, my friend, what the doctor said, and my friend told her that I was joking. Edit 3. Should also mention there's a 30% chance it may be her first cousin's baby. She told me they only made out, but her friend let it slip they'd been banging. The first time I met Ben was in Improv 101. I was only taking the class for fun, but about half of the people there were aspiring actors, including Ben. On the first day, the teacher had us all play this silly game to break the ice, so we'd all remember each other's names. The rules are pretty simple. Pick an adjective that starts with the same letter as your first name, introduce yourself using adjective plus your first name, and do a simple gesture that goes with it. So everyone is going around the circle, introducing themselves as Daring Daniel and Lonely Lauren and Awesome Alex until we get to Ben. Ben introduces himself as Surfer Ben, proceeded to misunderstand at least one key element of every game or exercise for the rest of class. I have no clue how this man functions in daily life. He has since managed to get a few featured extra roles on TV though. Back in my younger and crankier days, I worked with a young woman who was hands down the dumbest person I've ever met. Her highlights include winning a basket auction that included a copy of the Beach Boys album Pet Sounds, and complaining because she didn't want to hear a lot of mooing. On a day she was driving me up a wall, I convinced her to wait to open her bottle of Coke because the bottle said there was a winner every 5 minutes. She was disappointed she didn't win after waiting exactly 5 minutes. I, however, enjoyed her sulky silence for the rest of the day. The best/worst one involved her chatting with a manager who was African American. She's white. They were discussing their shared, slightly uncommon name, and then realized their families both came from South Carolina. She thought for a few minutes, and then excitedly exclaimed, "I bet my family owned yours." She was so proud of herself for figuring out that historic connection. The manager didn't say a word, and just walked away. My brother. He is genuinely the stupidest person I know. He has broken his arms 5 times, 3 for the right arm and 2 for the left. This is how he did it. 1. Age 7, dancing on a table, fell off. 2. Age 15, smoking pot with a friend. Cop shows up and he runs. Jumps a fence, shorts get caught, and he falls out of them onto his arm. 3. Age 17, runs in front of his friend's truck as it went down the road at about 30 miles per hour. 4. Age 19, was trying to hide from someone and jumped over a couch and somehow broke his arm. I don't remember how he broke it the other time. I just know it's been 5 times. He was arrested for possession of a firearm when he is not legally allowed to own one. It was his friend's firearm, pointed it at a cop. He got expelled from my high school twice. He got expelled from public school, and on the last day of school for writing "Ard a pregnant chib," called it a threesome. On a final note, these are rap lyrics. He didn't actually "are" a pregnant woman. He had 2 lines in a mandatory play. He still messed it up. While in prison, he got a marijuana leaf tattooed on his face. Upon seeing him for the first time after prison, he said, "Mom thinks I'm gonna get it removed, but I'm only gonna make it better. I'm also gonna get Chinese lettering down my face. We are painfully white." He dropped out of high school before finishing the 10th grade, not because he had to, just because he didn't like school and wanted to do drugs instead. He ended with a 3 in history and a 6 in math. I don't know what his other grades were. When he was 15, my uncle was 30. It took half an hour to explain to him why he would not always be half of my uncle's age. He genuinely believed the Ebola scare a couple years ago was the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. I am sure if I thought real hard I could come up with some more stupid. This story is pretty good. There was this receptionist at the veterinary office we have taken our dogs to over the years who argued with my dad about how to pronounce his own name. He went in to pick up some prescription something for our dog Daisy, and this girl asked the typical name of dog, name of owner type questions. "We have it listed as Michelle, and you don't look like a Michelle," she says. Dad asked how it was spelled on the monitor, and sure enough, it was still spelled Michael, my dad's name. He said, "That says Michael, that's my name," and she argued with him about it. He had to get his driver's license out to show her, and even though she finally relented to let him pick up whatever it was he was down there to pick up, she was adamant my dad has been mispronouncing his own name for 50 plus years. The best part is Dad tells us this whole story, and we think nothing of it till like 3 months later when my mom took the dog in for a checkup. The girl still thought the owner of the dog was Michelle, and that my mom must be in a lesbian relationship. Mom gently corrected the lady that it was Michael, and again this girl was adamant it was pronounced Michelle. Mom, bemused, said something along the lines of, "It's literally a name from the Bible, pronounced Michael, and has been for thousands of years." The receptionist sat in silence outside of the minimal amount of talking needed for the rest of that visit.